Inside, keeper, inside the 10, 5, touchdown.
Joining us now on ABC57 Kickoff, the voice of the Navy Midshipmen, Joe Miller, joining us here. Joe, thanks so much for jumping on the call.
No problem. Pleasure being here.
Should be a good one. The 98th all-time meeting between these two programs. Obviously, the past two meetings, both have come into this game very competitive, good records, both with postseason aspirations. You know, Navy now 7-1 after a loss last weekend. Where do you see this Navy team slowing the high-powered Notre Dame offense down?
If you go back to the last couple of games, it's been mistakes by Navy that's been the biggest impact in the game. So I think it starts there. It's like, how do you slow them down? You don't give them the ball, 6 extra times. That would help. And I think coming off the loss last week against North Texas, where they turned it over for the first couple times in that game, turnovers really haven't been a big issue for them this year, but it popped up last week. And obviously, you go back to last season. In the last couple matchups, they've gone in with some, excitement level, thinking that, hey, offensively, I think we can compete here. And they just have, just turned the ball over way too much. And that's just been their biggest downfall.
Yeah, Joe, I'm curious too. This offense has transformed a bit the past couple years, still mainly running the option.
Sure.
But with some wrinkles, out of the pistol and shotgun. In your mind, watching them on a week-in, week-out basis, why do you think it's so difficult for opposing teams to prepare for this offense and this style of play?
Well, it's still pretty unique. I'm always interested when we come out and see how teams want to address them because, defensively, most teams are, in this era of college football, are 4-2-5. So they actually have an extra defensive back out there. And does the team want to change that? Did they want to address that? Do they want to go off script? And we always talk about how many weeks did so-and-so team have to prepare for Navy or we always bring up those conversations. But the other part of this team is the individual talent on this Navy team is really good, too.
Speaking of the Jimmies and Joes and not just the X's and O's, head coach Marcus Freeman called Blake Horvath a special player. So what about his game, can make this matchup especially difficult for Notre Dame's defense?
I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is his explosive ability. He might not look like the fastest guy on the field, but he's been clocked at up there and when they do the individual numbers at 20 miles per hour plus. And his big play potential, I think, is the key for what they want to do offensively because out of some of the stuff that they can fake on the jet sweeps and stuff like that, that can open some lanes up for him and he can really start going. The other thing is his accuracy as a thrower. I think if I look over the years where Navy, that I've been here, they've had some guys that can throw the football downfield, but the accuracy might not have been there. And I think when you look at his percentage numbers, he's completing around 62% of his passes. And I think that's what separates him, that they're very comfortable 3rd down and 3 throwing the football. I mean, against Air Force earlier this season, they threw the ball twice on 4th and 1, and that would never happen the last 10, 15 years. So they're comfortable in those situations on 3rd and short and 4th and short throwing the football.
On the flip side, it's pick your poison, right? Either you got CJ Carr throwing it all over the yard, finding his big guys downfield, Malachi Fields, or it's the two-headed monster running back situation. Teams have been stacking the box against Notre Dame and saying, hey, CJ, throw it. If you're going to throw it downfield. You're going to beat us that way. What is Navy's approach with Notre Dame's offense?
I think it really starts with stopping the running attack. I mean, Drew Messamaker, a quarterback last week for North Texas, he's getting some national pub. He's one of the best in the American Conference. He was excellent last week, but it was stopping the run that was what they needed to do, and they just didn't do that enough in the first half. And that you look at Love and Price, you got to stop them first and foremost.
Navy's teams that I played against, they looked at their offense kind of as their defense, and it was to keep us off the field. And so then it really was, if we were going to run the ball, that would likely mean shortening the game itself. And cutting down the number of possessions. Now, I think the one thing that this Notre Dame team has that maybe, a couple of my teams lacked was a home run hitter at the running back position. Because if you can break one for 70 or 80 yards, that's going to be a quick score. Now, if you're having to go, 80 yards on 10 plays, that plays in the Navy's favor because then you're limiting the number of possessions you had.
What is the key, you think, to a Navy keeping it close in the second half and possibly keeping in that range of the upset bid at Notre Dame Stadium for the first time in 2 decades?
I hate to sound like some announcer from the 1970s, but it's stopping the run and not turn the ball over would be my first two keys. I mean, I think that's the two things that you have to focus in on the most. But the other thing is offensively, like they moved the ball last week against North Texas. They went back up and down the field. I mean, they're still averaging almost 7 yards a play. So offensively, they've got to score points. It's touchdowns in the red zone, not field goals, and not making mistakes inside the red zone. Last year, it was just a disaster the first 15 minutes, all the turnovers, and they're out of the game like that. So it's got to be a better start. You know, it's the obvious things of trying to, you're not going to stop Love, but you got to hold them, can't allow those big plays, and you've got to conjure up some big plays on the offensive side of the football field.
Joe Miller, we wish you the best of luck on the call, and enjoy South Bend, and hopefully we'll see you up there in the press box.
Will do. Always love coming there, so looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us here on ABC 57 Kickoff. We'll be right back.